Hey everybody, Margarita here, and I have an incredible guest with me today, Amanda Gabrielle. So, Amanda is a proud Aussie Gen Xer who has a passion for understanding the way the mind works and has since she picked up psychology as a Year 12 student in high school. This fascination led her over the years to study counseling, art therapy, clinical hypnotherapy, and most recently, life coaching, among others. She's also completed training in shamanic practice, just to round out the woo component of her interests. She has two teenage sons and lives in southeast Queensland, having moved from chilly Victoria just last year. So, if you know anything about Australia, Victoria's in the south, Queensland's up north. We're a much nicer climate. So, what is virtual gastric banding? So, virtual gastric banding is what we're going to be discussing today to help you to overcome the any issues that you have around weight and all that kind of stuff. Amanda will explain. So, we're going to talk about what is virtual gastric banding and lots of other things around that. So, if you have ever had an issue with your weight, then this is going to be very exciting for you. So, welcome, Amanda. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here. Lovely to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about why you are so passionate about helping people with this particular form of therapy.
Okay, so I have been doing clinical hypnotherapy since for about 10 years. And from a perspective of understanding how the mind works, it's it's just so good to be able to tap into the subconscious and uncover people's limiting or sometimes even negative belief systems. And if you know anything about the way the mind works, basically what happens is we do these certain things, we do these little behaviors, and the mind goes, you know what, I've done that so many times, I'm going to stick it in the subconscious and we're not going to think about that one anymore. And then it becomes a subconscious belief or a subconscious habit that we don't even know why it's there, how it got there, or even that it's there sometimes. And we certainly have a lot of trouble changing them. So that whole concept of diet and exercise, calories in, calories out, all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't work when the subconscious mind is working to keep those things in place, because they're the embedded habits. They're what we want to go forward and what we have to have, this is what we're doing. So I like to get to know somebody, uncover those, make the changes, and make them on a more permanent basis. So, yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, so, I mean, when I think of, and there's this thing called yo-yo dieting. So people get on a specific diet or new fad and they lose weight and it's great. And then within a few months or a year, they've put all that weight back on. And there's two high profile people that I think of immediately, particularly in Australia, and that is Jelena Djokovic, who was a very high profile tennis player years ago, and Magda Zavansky, so
Yeah.
the comedian here in Australia. So both of them, I think, did Jenny Craig. And they were
Something
huge
like one of those, yeah.
success stories for Jenny Craig. So they lost all this weight. They looked amazing. And even Magda Zavansky, I remember her years ago, she was doing an interview on the project. And I sort of sat up and took notice because she said that she even worked with a psychologist on her mindset around it. But she still went back and put back on all that weight afterwards. So, what do you think that's about?
I think that is about what we were just talking about, those embedded beliefs, because they've gone into the subconscious. And I don't want to talk about them as negative, because basically it's your brain's way of helping you out. And if it's related to something where it's like, okay, well, this is normal, this is good, I'm doing you a favor by stopping you having to think about these things, so you can think about other things. and do all this other stuff, all this new great stuff that you want to learn about, or whatever it is. So you've got to get in and understand where they've come from and
do you think
why.
that's sometimes based in trauma, or there's a self-protection, or sort of what's going on there?
Very much so. It can be, absolutely. It can be, and a lot of it is right back from your childhood. I definitely think that it can be around trauma. And what happens is the brain is doing you a massive favor by protecting you from re-experiencing that particular thing. So your brain might get triggered into believing that it's about to re-experience that trauma. So something might be you might see someone that reminds you of someone from the past. And you may not even realize you've seen that person, but subconsciously your intuition and your subconscious can see everything. So it recognizes that. It's like, oh, we don't want her to recognize that and see that person and re-experience that event. So I'll just tell her to go and have a chocolate and a milkshake or something like that. So what I call that is buffering. And what happens is it stops you from experiencing something that is going to be really, really uncomfortable. So your brain is protecting you and giving you something else to do.
So that comfort eating is like a go-to behavior, a default behavior to kind of to avoid, because we're very good at avoiding emotions. To avoid the uncomfortable emotions, we'll go and do something that will comfort us and will justify it in a way that, oh, I feel this grief, or I feel this discomfort, or because they criticized me, or because my partner dumped me, I'm just going to go and eat a whole lot of ice cream, and we justify it on that basis. Is that sort of, am I getting that right?
Yeah, but this is all subconscious. There's no conscious conversation where I'm sitting down and saying, I don't want to feel this emotion, therefore I will do this thing. Yeah. It's a drive. So you don't really understand. So what I do is I help people understand the way the brain is working, get a grip of that, and then say, okay, brain, thank you. We're doing this now, and use the brain and the way that it works to our favor.
So you're kind of overriding the default. And because I think in that perspective, when I think of somebody like, I don't know Magnus Zavansky's history, but I do know, we do know a bit about Jelena Djokovic's history, and her father was incredibly abusive. So now this is just an assumption of mine, but my thought is that maybe she put all that weight on as a source of protection because she hasn't dealt with the psychological trauma, or hasn't completely dealt with it. Maybe she's done some work on it, I don't know. But she may not have dealt completely with the psychological trauma that was created by her father. And other things are like, if somebody was sexually abused as a child, they might put on a lot of weight so they don't look attractive to the opposite sex, to avoid re-experiencing that trauma that they had as a child. So it's really quite complex, isn't it?
It can be, yes, but it's also very, very simple. There is a reason that you're doing it, so we just need to uncover what it is. And it's not that you have to go deep, deep, deep into the trauma and really clear it and process it. That work can be done with a psychologist, and that work should be done with a psychologist or some other trauma-based therapy. This is about where these particular habits have come from, and often it will be trauma-related that we uncover, but it doesn't mean that we have to go deep into that. It doesn't mean that I'm pulling out all the painful stuff of
you
your
don't have
past.
to re-experience the pain, in other words. No.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right. Yeah. So that's a perfect segue into what is gastric banding. I mean, we know what gastric banding is. It's a pretty invasive kind of procedure. And to that, before you tell us what gastric band, what virtual gastric banding is, you know, this just blew my mind. I heard a story years ago about a doctor who was very overweight, went and had gastric banding surgery, and it didn't work because she would blend Tim Tams and drink them through a straw. It's like, WTF, you just went through something as invasive as gastric banding surgery, and you have zero self-discipline to stop you from eating all the stuff that got the weight on in the first place. So, and I'm smiling, I shouldn't be smiling because it's a very, very serious problem. So tell us about virtual gastric banding, how that works and how it's different and why it's better than the actual invasive, or why you think it's better than the actual invasive procedure.
Right. So, what I do with mine is there is a series of 4 hypnotherapy sessions that I pre record and give to my clients. The first 3 are setting you up for it. So, you get ready. And the fourth one is a virtual day at the hospital. So, you start by waking up in the morning and your packed bag is sitting by the door ready to go. And we literally go through the journey to the hospital, the journey through into theatre, and then when you wake up and what happens all through that process. So it is a virtual process. And then it is the few hours and couple of days afterwards where you have these new habits. But the first sessions that you have before that are things like setting you up, getting ready to lose weight, setting goals for what you want to achieve and who you want to be after all of this, looking into the emotional factors and shrinking the stomach and getting a good grasp on what the difference in size is so that you can have an understanding of really how little you can eat after this. And understanding that if you can only eat a small amount, that nutrition, the nutritional value of your food is hyper important after something like this. So if that woman was eating blended up Tim Tams, she was malnourished, literally unable to eat any other food. You know, if you're overweight, it's because maybe you do eat a lot of junk food, but you're also okay health-wise within reason, apart from the fact that you're, you know, obese, but you're still getting some nutrition out of your food because you're eating other food as well, mostly. Whereas this woman, probably that was all she could possibly even eat and fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. So she was really limiting any ability to get any nutrition out of her food.
Yeah.
And I know from my previous experience, you know, investigating nutrition, that quite often, because our food is so devoid, a lot of our food in our current society is so devoid of nutrition that quite often we think we're hungry, but in actual fact, that message from our body is, I need more nutrition, I'm undernourished. And what we feel or sense or interpret that as is, oh, I'm hungry, I'll just go and eat some more biscuits. It's like, well, no, that's not the message at all. So, okay, so with the virtual gastric banding, that's really cool that you get them to go through that virtual idea of going into the hospital and all the rest of it. And for anybody who's kind of going, huh, what? How does that work? There's another story that's kind of similar to that I read years ago that I just find it fascinating. The power of the mind is so fascinating. And this was about a surgeon who did all sorts of joint surgery, but this specific thing was knee surgery. And he decided, so he did knee reconstructions. He decided to do a test. I don't know who funded this, but he decided to do a test, and he had a placebo group who had no procedure done. He had another group that had the procedure done, the full procedure done. And he had another group where they would go through the whole scenario. So they would get them into the hospital, they would put them through the anesthesia, they would take them into the operating theatre, they would actually open the person's leg up, they would play all the noises as if they had done the surgery to trick the brain, then close them up, send them out. They didn't know whether or not they'd actually had the surgery, and they had all the signs that they would have had the surgery. And the results were astonishing in that those who didn't actually have the reconstruction had just as good, if not better, results and than as the people who did have the surgery. And the placebo group, there was kind of like no change.
Yep.
So it's just, and the surgeon kind of went, I'm not even relevant. So you can, this is the kind of thing that you're talking about, is that you're working with the power of the mind to create a state where the body is limiting itself rather than being forced physically to limit the intake, which is just, it's very cool. So everybody's different. Everybody has a different background. So is what you do exactly the same for everybody, or are there differences?
The recordings are all the same. But what I do is, as I said, I have 4 recordings in between. So I start off with a one-on-one coaching session, and then I alternate. So once they've done the coaching, they get the recording. Once they've done a recording, they do another coaching session. So we do that all the way through. So they end up with 5 coaching sessions, one-on-one with me online. And it is all related to what they've experienced and what they experienced in the recording each time.
So those coaching sessions are very individual.
They're 100% individual. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a certain component of training that I take people through, but I find that, you know, I have all the training goes over the 5 different sessions, and sometimes I start where I might end up with someone else because it's just what they need as we go through it all.
Okay, awesome. All right. So in relation to that, what kind of results have you seen with virtual gastric banding, either yourself or other practitioners?
Statistically, and I understand these statistics are actually from the UK, they actually have something like a 7% success rate higher than the gastric banding surgery. And the gastric banding surgery is something like the most successful type of weight loss program.
Oh.
So this actually beats the surgery out for success. It's just so much safer.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people who are overweight and you know, they suggest that they have the surgery, they're then told that they need to lose weight so that they can safely go through an anesthetic. And I don't know about you, but if I can't lose weight and need surgery, I don't know how I'm going to lose weight for the surgery. It just doesn't compute.
Yeah, it's really contradictory, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you can lose weight before the surgery, then why the hell do the surgery? It's like you've just proven that you can lose weight.
Yeah.
So just keep doing that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, they're great statistics. And what do people sort of experience along this journey? What do you notice as people go through the process? That, because it wouldn't be just physical change that they would see.
No, that's right. One woman recently said to me that we went through a process and we uncovered some stuff that she hadn't really thought about since she was about 10 years old. And she said, oh my God, I realized that I am no longer afraid to be hungry.
Wow.
It's just such a dramatic change to realize that she was afraid to be hungry, and then to be like, what am I afraid of? Oh, you know, it was a massive shift for her.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. Fair enough. Because I know. Yeah, go.
Sorry, one of my favorites was the woman who went through the whole program and then afterwards said to me, you know, I was totally skeptical. I didn't think any of this would work, but I'm losing weight.
That's so cool. Don't you love it?
And she hadn't even told me any of that. So yeah, that was very cool.
It's very satisfying when you've really sensed it. And the thing about people actually being not just losing weight, but feeling like they finally have control over their bodies and their habits and their their responses to life, and that they can do this into the foreseeable future. I mean, that's really empowering for somebody. It gives them a little bit more confidence and ability to do other things in life. It's not just about the weight. So
Yeah, that's right.
is this something that is, does it wear off after a while, or is it a lifetime thing? What happens with it?
We talk a lot about sustainability. So when I help clients to build a plan and set themselves up a protocol, I talk about, look, this is something that you want to be able to sustain and have for the life for as long as you want. And so, we don't want to have something that's going to be great for 6 months and you lose all the weight, but then what happens when is it a lifestyle thing? So yeah, it's very much.
You're setting them up for success along the way.
That's right. Yeah, along the way, but also I don't want to see them again. I don't want them coming back, and I don't want them going somewhere else, so that that I don't want them to fail. I really want them to be able, like you say, yes, I'm setting them up for success and longevity, and these things that they learn in the coaching sessions are transferable to any aspect of their lives.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so they're basically, I have a thought model that I teach people so that they can understand where their emotions are coming from, and if they want to change them, how they can change them. And so what I've done is, after they've gone through the program, I have a membership so that clients can go into that group, and I have group coaching calls so they can bring anything that they want to it. And I find that a lot of times it might not always be weight related, but it's something else, because if you're eating because of your emotions, then anything that causes an emotion in your life is relevant to what we're doing.
So you're giving them ongoing support, which is amazing.
That's right.
Okay. And that's where it's so different to the weight loss industry. I mean, having been a personal trainer and being in a part of that industry, I mean, I know from being and working in gyms many, many years ago, that the gym really didn't care if people signed up and then came 2 or 3 times and then never came again, because it meant less wear and tear on their equipment. It meant not as much maintenance. It was kind of like they got the money, so, whatever. Now there's a little bit more consciousness around it, I think, and a lot of gyms have like programs to keep people accountable and stuff. But that was the whole thing about being a personal trainer. It was about that accountability. You show up here, you do the workout, you work harder than you would on your own, all that kind of stuff. And these kind of programs are so important for support, for accountability, to actually give people the tools and equip them with ways that they can then sustain this long term. And the same thing with the weight loss industry. The weight loss industry is like, oh, well, you've come and bought my product, which is whatever man shake or lady shake or whatever is the crappy stuff that they've got going on at the time. And yes, it's effective at losing weight, but oh, look at that. 6 months later, you just put all of that back on. Oh, well, here's our product. They love the whole return customer thing. It's kind of like this, it's return customers. Great. It was effective. They got results. So what's going to be their go-to next time? So they don't want you to be successful at keeping the weight off. They're more than happy for you to put all that weight back on. So you come back again and you just keep buying their product. So a very different psychology around that, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And the other thing about the group is that it is a community. So you're connecting with other people that have been through the program and are on the other side. So, I think that's really important for connecting with other people, and having community is so good. I mean, if you're just walking into a chemist and buying a product, you're still on your own. You're still trying to figure it all out by yourself. And you still got the brain going, yeah, but how can you do this, and whatever it's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That little itty bitty shitty committee going on in in the
One.
background.
Yeah. So, I can add a new perspective and, we figure out why the brain's saying that and how to make it say something different.
Awesome. Okay. So, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe been struggling with their weight? Maybe they've never heard of gastric banding before. Maybe they've heard about it but never explored it. But they're unsure about the hypnosis part, because hypnosis, if people have never experienced it, can be a little bit daunting.
Hypnosis is a really interesting thing. So it's not hypnosis, it's not stage hypnosis. So there's no chickens
Oh,
clucking.
what a
Oh,
shame.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
disappointing.
No barking like a dog.
Damn.
Um, I mean, I can do that for you if you want.
Oh, okay. We'll just add that into my program. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that offline. It's I compare it to a guided meditation. So if you've ever done that and you're able to, imagine a certain picture in your mind as you're going through a guided meditation and you get yourself into a really beautifully relaxed state, this is what I'm doing. And the scripts are available. So, like, the transcript of the recording is available. So if anybody wants to be sent that along with the recording so they can actually go through the words and make sure there's no sneaky chickens in there, then that's all good.
And hypnosis itself, it's like the person doesn't actually lose consciousness or awareness, do they? Are they always
No,
conscious
that's
and
right.
aware?
The saying is, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I cannot hypnotize anybody that doesn't want to be. It's like the stage hypnosis. They really are very picky about who they put up on stage. They want the people who are all about showing off to their friends that they can cluck like a chicken, right? They don't want the people that are sitting there. They don't want the skeptics.
Yeah.
And if you've ever watched one of those shows, they will pick even the people that are all lined up on the stage. They will start to cull a few here and there. And they'll ask a few questions and they'll do a few things and they'll be like, right, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. And they'll end up with maybe 4 people that are just their most perfect people. They're that really are all primed and ready to go. Yeah, it's really awesome.
I must confess, many years ago, probably 30 years ago or something, when it was really, there's showing my age, when it was really quite popular, I actually volunteered for one of those shows and I got kicked off the stage. They were like, yeah, no, we don't want you.
No.
So do you have a way to ascertain if somebody is going to be, like, really good for the program?
It's not about your hypnotizability. That's right.
We'll just make up the word. Hypnotizability.
Right. That's the one. I do discovery calls. So everyone that wants to sign up can go, give me a call. We'll have a chat. And a lot of times I'm interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing me, sort of thing. I want to make sure that you're ready and that you really want to go ahead with it. I will explain that, there are going to be times when you may not like me. It's not going to be a comfortable process. Making big change is uncomfortable. And, you've got this brain that's been acting a certain way for so long that we need to work together, pardon me, to figure out how to change it. And it's going to, test you, and it's going to not want to change. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to make you feel like this is not the right thing because you're so used to behaving a certain way. So I do explain that really clearly to my clients because I want them to know up front that we're not mucking around.
Yeah, change is always uncomfortable. That's why, that, like, I work with EFT and all those kind of things to try and get around that, because the brain doesn't like the unknown. The subconscious mind doesn't like the unknown. It latches onto something and it locks onto it, and then sort of getting it. That's why processes like hypnosis are kind of like the intervention to accelerate that change in the brain, because the brain is so resistant to change under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you'd really like to share about the process? And because we just mentioned that you do free discovery calls, so people can go to 30minutecoach.org. Is that it? So
That's
30,
right. Yep.
the numbers, 30minutecoach.org. So people can go there to find out a bit more information and to book a call with you.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you think is really relevant that you'd like to share with people in relation to the process?
On the website, there is a free audio that they can tap onto and get emailed out to them. It's a craving curber audio, which is a little recording of instructions, directions on how to, like a little breathing technique to help with cravings. So that's something worth having a little look at, maybe.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what else. That's pretty good. If you do go onto the website, you'll see that the program is called Why Wait? And so what I want to do is, anyone listening to this, on the website it says you get 1 month for free in the community. So what I want to do is make that 3 months for everybody that signs up.
Okay.
During August, because it's
During
my
August.
birthday.
Ah, okay. So that's a special for August 2024.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. And how long does the process take, the intensive process take?
It's 4 weeks. So you have a call with me, and then a week later you have the second call, and the calls are a week apart. And so that's it. It's about a month. What we do on the first call is actually schedule all of your calls in so that you understand, and we have a plan. And then you've got a week in between to listen to the recordings.
All right. And how, do people tend to see some results? I mean, obviously we're not looking for fast weight loss because that's really unsustainable. But right. Do people tend to see results pretty quickly?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, if you want any more information, then go to 30minutecoach.org. I will put the link in the description of the YouTube video, or if it's on a web page, then it'll be on the web page. And you can go there and download that audio, check out all the information. And if this is something that has been plaguing you for a while, because weight loss can be so all-consuming, or having challenges with your weight can be so all-consuming. It can take up so much of your brain power. It can really affect you emotionally, mentally. It affects your confidence. It's just one of those insidious things that just, if you struggle with it, then my thing is to think about the fact that it's not all your fault. So whilst your behaviors may be contributing to the problem, there's something underlying that's causing your behaviors. So why not deal with the problem at the root, at the cause, at the issue? The thing with something like an invasive surgery, an actual invasive surgery, is that it's dealing with the problem at the effect, not at the cause. And then you've still got all the crap that caused it in the first place. You've still got all the emotional baggage, all the mental, if there's any trauma behind it, all the belief systems, all the subconscious programming, all that's still there. So, how is that going to impact you in other ways in your life? So what I can see, and what I know from other similar programs that deal with all kinds of things, because, I use EFT for stuff, but it's actually coming back to the cause, the thing that is creating the end result. And if you treat it at the cause, then it affects so many different areas of your life in a positive way. So like go and check the website out, have a look at it, get the download, reach out to Amanda. And I know she's a client of mine in my Billionaire University program. So I know how amazing she is. And I guarantee you, she's really going to hold your hand through the whole process. And you're going to get an amazing result from working with Amanda. So go and check it out. So thank you so much, Amanda. It's been really delightful to talk to you about this. And I cannot wait to hear all the success stories of the people who jump on and work with you. So, all right.
Yep. Thank you.
See you, everybody.